this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome into yet another live show here on a what day is it? Wednesday? Every day at this point in the season kind of melds together. The regular season obviously finished, waiting for the dates for the postseason games for the Minnesota Wild between the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll talk about that here tonight. But without further ado, let's turn it over to Denny.
Well, welcome to What the Hell Are You Smoking? And I'm sorry about Sunday, folks, but I had a neuropathy attack, and you don't want to see me when I'm sick like that. I'm sorry because I hate to miss it, but it is what it is, and hopefully the show will make up for it. For the show tonight, I'm going to talk about the predictions that I have made, the ones that I made in the past and in the future. I'm going to talk about Tim Walsh and why we didn't get to sign him, even though the Wild were heavily pursuing him. What Anaheim did was really good. I don't know why the Wild didn't do it, but we'll get into that. And I'm going to talk about all the stuff at the beginning of the season that I said that I thought would happen and how close I came. To begin with, at the beginning of the season, I talked, 2 years ago, I said that Dino would get fired before the All-Star break. And not one person was on board with that. I said it would never happen. Well, as you know, it did happen. And I am the only hockey pundit that I know of that went that route. So that was a good start. And then for the beginning of the season this year, I gave a rundown of all the players and where I projected them to be. And I had the Wild with at least 105 points for the year. Well, that was before we lost Kaprizov for a couple months. Otherwise, I think we would have hit at least 105. I also said at the beginning of the year that it would take 96 points to get in, and I hit that right on the head. Couldn't believe it.
Nailed it.
Yes, I did.
And I'll even give you a further layer of credit, because if the Wild would have if they would have lost in overtime against Anaheim and gotten to the 96 points, they would have gotten in.
Yep. 96 was the number. So got a feather in my cap for that. And then going down to predictions with the players, I have Boldy at 80 points for this year. Now, you got to consider this is all with being with Kaprizov, right? And he ended up with, 75 points?
Yeah, let me just pull up the team stats here. I was deep diving into Vegas stuff. I'm trying to crack the code that is the Vegas Golden Knights for tomorrow's episode. So far, not having any luck. Shocker. Boldy finished with 73.
73 points, and I had him at 80. And if you wouldn't have lollygag for 2 months of the season or 23 games, as we went over that stat last show, he would have hit 80 points, if not more. Having Billy bring his dad and mom in really has straightened him up. You look at how engaged he is right now. We haven't seen that since the beginning of the year. So most certainly father-son was a good outcome. And I got to give my props to Billy for doing that, because it really did make a difference. And then for Rossi, I also had him at 80 points. And what did he get? 50, 51, something like that?
He had 60.
60 points. And when you think about when Rossi and Kaprizov were together, they were a dynamo. I mean, Rossi, Boldy, Kaprizov was one hell of a line. Kaprizov makes everybody better. And when you figure that he was out for a couple of months, I'm pretty sure Rossi would have been pretty close to 82. And, as I've talked about before, Rossi and Hines do not see eye to eye. I can see it in his body language. I see how he plays. And I'm just telling you, Rossi's getting traded. For all you new people who are on the show, I brought this up before, but I really think Rossi's being traded. When there are no contract negotiations, nothing, that's not a good sign. This is not rocket scientists. It's just common sense. And I think Brock Nelson is coming in to replace him. That's another of my predictions. That's coming up. And then I had Zuggs at 50 points. And where did he end up with?
He had 54.
54. So it was pretty close there. And of course, he would have had a bunch more with Kaprizov. You know how they move the lines up and down.
Well, and he missed 13 games too.
Yep.
Not for any of his doing. Just a really unfortunate friendly fire.
Yep. Yeah. That was a tough one for him anyway. At any rate, so I was a little off there, but I was pretty close with all three of them. And with Kaprizov, I had him pegged for at least 120 to 150 points this year. And I absolutely thought he would get it if he had played. I mean, he was the best player in NHL when he got hurt. And it wasn't even close at the time. I mean, he's just a dynamo. So it's something that we can look forward in the future.
Well, I can do the easy math for you, Denny, because he played 41 games. So this is easy math. So he would have had 50 goals, 62 assists if he would have played in all 82, or even 75 plus. He would have hit 100 for sure.
Well, I'm still sticking with the 120 because how many games do you are not counting the hat trick or the 3 or 4 point game, which is quite capable of doing it at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes him so special. I think he's top 5 player in the hockey league, period. And, there's discussions about a few other players, but I'll take Kaprizov all day long. And let's see here. What else? Gus Bus. At the beginning of the year, I talked about, because he had such a on and off year last year. And the reason being is he was out of shape. He was 15 pounds overweight. And as I talked about at the beginning of the season, he's married, just got a kid. And according to Tom Reed, he lost 13 pounds and he's in the best shape of his life. So I had no worries at all about him. As it turned out, that's pretty much how it turned out. I mean, Gus Bus, top 5 goalie in the league. No question. So I think I'm pretty close on that one, too. Let's see here. Now that that's over the way, I want to talk about Lunani and the statue thing. I'll tell you what's going on with that. I'm meeting with the St. Paul City Council next Wednesday to get approval to put the Lunani statue in front of the XL. It's not up to the Wild. It's up to St. Paul. They own the land. So Wednesday I'm going. Hopefully I get approval right away, and then everything's pretty much all set up. We have Nicholas Gregaro, who made Sid Hartman's statue, is going to do it. And I got a whole lot of people who are behind this. I just can't say it until we get official approval from St. Paul, which I hope is next Wednesday. And then I'll get more detail about that next week. Moving on. Let's see here. Don't mind me. I got to read this stuff because otherwise I'll forget it. Let's move into the series with Vegas. What were the polls? What the polls show there, Seth?
So we put out a poll asking what people thought, how long, and I didn't want to focus on. Do you think the Wild will beat the Vegas Golden Knights? Because I feel like that would have been pretty resoundingly no. I was more curious as to how long people thought the series would go. So we had 37%. We had 86 votes. 37% said 5 games. 35% said 6 games. 16% said 7 games. And 12% said sweep.
Wow.
So,
sweep?
Yeah.
What team are they looking at? Are they looking at this year's Minnesota Wild?
Oh, the poll was just in regards to the series, not who would
right.
win.
Oh. Okay.
I'm sure all 12% thought Vegas would sweep.
Well, I think they're pretty right on. I think Vegas wins in 5. I think the third game will win, and that's only because they're bringing in Zeev. I believe they're going to put Zeev in after they're down 2 games. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain, even though I believe he should be starting with Hines not believing in the kids. I think it's going to take till the third game when we're down 2-0 before they put him in, because he can be a game changer. I haven't been this high on a player for all you new people out to the show in a long, long time. His skating ability is phenomenal. And he sees the ice so well. And somebody sent me a 2-minute clip of him going through these drills and all this stuff. I wish I lost it somehow, because I could have put it up for you guys, for everybody to see what they showed. The kid's just unbelievable. He really is. He's going to be our best D-man when he gets on the ice after. It won't take long. He's not going to miss a step. And that includes Brock Faber. I mean, those two are going to be a hell of a 1-2 punch. And as I've talked about before, Judd Brackett is building a dynasty. He really is. If you look at long-term and all his picks, like I said, he's got 5 kids waiting at the door to get in. It's just that we have the wrong coach, because he won't play kids. I think next year, we're going to see Yeroff, William, Ogren, Jurasek, and Walsett. At least I would hope they play. But with Hines, you never know. He makes some real head scratchers. And I still don't understand. The last game he had Rossi third line pairing with Gustav, who's probably the slowest player on the team now. Besides, there's a couple. But why would you put that speed with the slowest player? It makes no sense to me. I mean, I understand that he's trying to create depth. But you put Goudreau in the third line. You'd be an excellent third line center. Rossi is not a very good third line center. He needs good players with him right now for him to shine. And he's not getting that. And it's another reason why I think he's moving, because he's not as engaged as he used to. I mean, he's still a lunch pail type guy who comes to work every day. But I'm pretty sure there's a big disparity between Hines and Rossi and Billy. And that's why I think they're traded. As for the Wild matching up with Vegas, well, all 4 of their lines are better than ours, top to bottom. Their defense, our first 2 lines are as good or better than theirs, but our third line, Bogo, Morel, I don't care if Hines is only playing 11 minutes a game. They're constantly getting burned. Did you look up that stat for?
That stat does not exist.
Oh. Okay.
I tried. I have. That's why you see me frantically looking around. Is I have been trying on 2 different screens to find it, and it does not exist, or at least they don't track it.
Well, what Seth and I were talking about is how many times Bogle loses his man. And you'll see on the weak side, there's always a player next to the pipe, put in a goal. And that's Bogle's responsibility there. Excuse me. And how many times do you see wide open because Bogle's lost them? It's beyond me why they keep playing him. You know, Morel doesn't hurt you that way, but Morel doesn't do anything. He doesn't hurt you, but he doesn't help you either. And why they're not playing Zeev is beyond me, because he's going to be an just absolute upgrade. Yeah, but that's Hines for you. Won't play the kids. What can you do? Now, you got any thoughts on that, Seth?
Yeah, I am of the belief too, and have been for a while, that I think this just is another step in the direction for Bill Guerin and how he is kind of constructing this team. Rossi, there's nothing even that he can do about it. If he was 6'3", we wouldn't have even begun this conversation.
That's right.
The fact that he's 5'10" or 5'9" or whatever he is, that's the knock. That's the spot that is going to lead to him getting moved. I think it's about, I think Michael Russo said a 70% guarantee that it'll happen this offseason. I'm in about the 90s. I just think,
me too.
He's one of the only players that they can currently move without having to go to the player specifically. So I think that'll be how they start the shakeup.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I'm absolutely 100% convinced they're moving them. Any thoughts from the fans tonight?
Let's go to Brian to start. Why does it keep doing that? Every time I click on a comment, it goes all the way back up to the top. Brian says, couldn't agree more. Wild are building a powerhouse. Now we're finally going to be able to add significant free agents going forward. And there will also be roster spots that will start to open up to put pieces in, move pieces around.
Gustav is gone. Mojo's gone. Morel's gone. Who else is moving?
Let me pull up Puckpedia. They're about 6, I think. Fleury is gone.
Yep.
We've got Jesper to fill that spot.
Yep.
God, what is going on with my computer? Marcus Johansson, Gustav Nyquist, Justin Brazo. Vinny Hinostroza is going to be on the roster next year. I don't have any problem with that. I think he's a good hustle guy.
He's the perfect fourth liner.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the Stanley Cup, you have to have 4 lines rolling. Not 1, not 2, not 3. All 4 have to be exceptional to win the cup. And, you know, I was very disappointed when they moved the Dew brothers, because that was the making of a good fourth liner there. And they moved them because they could, not because they should.
Well, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this too, Denny. The fourth line, there's no real identity with that fourth line. Like, what does the Minnesota Wild fourth line do? What specific thing do they do well? Like, you see some of these other fourth lines around the league, like they're penalty killers. They fly around the ice. I mean, Washington's fourth line, I think they have double-digit goals, all 4 of them, including Brandon Duhaime.
Yep.
The fourth line
is just resigned, I think.
Yeah, he's still mad about letting him walk.
Yep.
The fourth line here just kind of feels like a collection of, well, these guys aren't top 9 players, so we're just going to put them in the fourth line.
Well, here's my thoughts on this. It all comes with time management. And John Hines, when you're in the fourth line, you're in purgatory hell because you're not playing enough to do anything, and you're not doing anything to help the team. Because when you're playing 7-8 minutes a game, I have a real problem with that. The fourth line should not be playing any less than 12 minutes a game, and at the very least 10. The whole reason for time management in that way is because you're looking for advantages. You can move a player up or down a line when you see an advantage. And when you do that, you change it, you give them some more time. Now, that's coaching. And that's looking for advantages in game. And Hines, even though he moves players around and he changes up the lines, he moves 2 players off of one line and then they have no practice. So that doesn't work. You can move one player off a line and move them up and down with no problems. You can't move 2, and he does that all the time. That's another problem I have. But his time management is terrible.
If you could fire him before the playoffs started, would you?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat. My thoughts on Hines, as everybody knows, I'm not very high on. He's an average coach at best. I know I'm going to hear all this stuff about we were unbeatable the first half. Yeah, we were until, things happen. Injuries happen. I've never seen a team get so hurt as I have in those last 2 years. The hockey gods do not like us. I don't know why. And I hope it ends now because we've had our fill for a long time situation. I've never seen it in 60 years of hockey, this many injuries. I've never seen it.
And outside of Lauko, they're all broken bones. So it's not like it's somebody who has a nagging hamstring injury. I know Lauko's was a core injury. Every single other injury has either been like a concussion or Brock Faber getting hit in the throat with a puck, Spurgeon getting elbowed in the throat and not being able to breathe. Like, it's not. I think that makes it more frustrating because it's not like you just have somebody who can't get off the trainer's table because their hamstring is tight and they don't want to super test it. Like, players are sticking their hands out to block shots and they're breaking a finger. I don't know what you do about it.
Well, we talked about this a little bit last week or the week or before. When do you decide that you should block a shot or not block a shot? I guess teams have to start getting more dialed in on when to block a shot and when not to. Because when you're putting your body in harm's way with a 100-mile-an-hour puck, does it make sense to block the shot? Really?
Well, and it's an instinct thing. Like, even if you tell yourself, even if you tell your brain, hey, don't get in the way of this puck, like, that nerve will still fire. Middleton,
yep.
And it's fraction of an inch stuff. Like, if he sticks his hand out and the puck misses his hand, no problem. But this is a great ad by Brian here. The game against the Ducks last night, that was the first time that the Wild had their entire full healthy roster since November 11th.
Wow. That's good stuff, Brian. Good stuff. Well, like I say, I've never seen injuries like this in 1 year for one team. 60 years of hockey, I've never seen it like this. And it's all about blocking shots.
And the one
nuts.
Yeah. Friendly fire. The one thing I will say too is having a roster that is having older players on the roster, you tend to not be able to heal up as quickly. So that's probably the one part of it. If you're 22 years old and you are fighting somebody and you break a finger, you can probably come back way quicker than if you're 35. But I don't know, like the injury part is just so weird because which ones do you point to and say, like, that's a chronic injury? It's more so just that guys are susceptible to injuries because of the way they play, as opposed to like, that was kind of frustrating when Spurgeon got hurt and people were like, oh, Spurgeon's hurt again. Shocker. It's like, did you see what happened? He took an elbow to the throat, couldn't breathe, so he had to get helped off the ice. Like, that's not I don't know. It's
everybody's so down on, everybody's so down on Spurgeon, and I am a complete opposite. I love Spurgeon. What he does on ice, this is for all you new people because all the regulars know what I'm about to say here. His first pass outlet is always on the money. He knows when to pinch. He closes the gaps exceptionally well. His stick work is probably the best of all the D-men. Faber's getting there, but he's still not quite Spurgeon. Spurgeon breaks up more 2-on-1s than anybody on the team. And Spurgeon and Brodin together are just dynamo. That's the building of a cup contender right there. You know, next year when we have Jurasek and Zeev and Brodin and Spurgeon and Faber and Milton, that's the strongest sixes you're going to have in the NHL. Maybe the strongest. I'm not kidding. I'm so high on Zeev William. And I know I caught a lot of flack about it, but I'm telling you, I haven't seen talent like this. And I've used Bobby Orr as a comparison. And the reason I use Bobby Orr as a comparison is because Bobby could see the ice like Zeev does. Bobby Orr used to go coast to coast from behind the net and go up and score a goal. It's really a religion. That's how good he was. And I see that in Zeev. I think Zeev's a little bit better skater right now than Bobby Orr was. And, you know, the best defender right now in the league, in my opinion, is Cale McCarr. He's 2 steps ahead of everybody. And now you can make an argument for Hughes, too. And analytically, they're pretty close, but I'll take McCarr any day of the week. You know, and as I said before, there are other players. I forget the guy's name. I'm sorry. I don't have a good memory anymore. We were talking about Bobby Orr and the Zeev comparison. I'll tell you another one who was better than Bobby Orr, and that's Erik Karlsson. That kid could go up and down the ice, and I'm sure you've all got to watch him play. He could go coast to coast, too. You couldn't stop. And there's been a lot of players like that over the years, not every year, but, you know, Bobby Orr, in my opinion, is the best at going coast to coast. And then he was big, you couldn't stop him. And I one time listened to a broadcaster, and he said, how do you do it? He goes, well, when they're leaning left, I go right. They're leaning right, I go left. It's so simple, but so true. And, you know, Steve William is miles ahead. It's got all these people to watch and emulate. You know, I'm pretty sure that Kaprizov has had an impact on his skating. Because Steve Williams' edge work is awesome. And there's nobody that has better edge work than Kaprizov. And right now, when I watched the game last night, Kaprizov's probably about 80%. And you'll know when Kaprizov's back is when his edge work comes back. And he's been out how many months now? Almost 3?
Yeah, he missed 41 games all told.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have his legs yet back. I mean, edge work is all about strength and ankles, and you know, he's just got to get it back. And will he get it back in time for the playoffs? I don't think so. It's going to probably take more games than the Wild are going to get to play, unfortunately. I'm so glad he's back, but You know, Kaprizov, he's ready when he can skate around. What I mean by edge work is just think about how many times Kaprizov skates around in the circle in the offensive zone. He goes around the net, comes back, goes back around. Very few people can do that. That's all because of his edge work. And, he's a joy to watch. Any other questions or comments?
Let's go to this one from KJ. What do we think set off Kaprizov's injury this season? He was on a heater and can't pin it to one hit or play. That's a fantastic question because I remember being completely floored by the series of events. It happened right after Christmas. The message was, we're going to hold Kirill out. He's a little banged up. They held him out. He ended up missing 12 games. It's like, this isn't just a little something. Ended up announcing that he came back. They ended up announcing that he was going to have surgery, and that was that. But I did read at one point that they said it was not the same injury, but I have not seen anything further other than that. We don't even know what the injury is at this point.
It was he pulled his groin, and I've heard rumors that he just destroyed it, much like what Gabby. And when you do that, I'm sure they're probably better at repairing now than when Gabby had his. At least I hope so. When you break your groin like that, it's just, you just don't know. He's probably going to have this problem his whole life. Gabby, oh, Jesus, the beer. Sorry. Gabby had the same problem his whole life. He only went 1 year where he didn't miss any games, and that was the year where he left us and played with LA. He was good the whole year. But he had groin problems his whole career. And I think Kaprizov probably will too. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they figured something out.
So does that give you any pause with his extension?
No. You got to sign him. You got to sign him. It doesn't matter if he's got to deal with it. You got to deal with it. Maybe they'll come up with some kind of conditioning deals to make his groins stronger. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're already trying to figure out ways to do that if they haven't already. I don't know what else you can do. I'm not a doctor. I've never had a groin pull, so I don't even have that to rely on. Maybe they've come up with some kind of conditioning to make your groin stronger so that you don't have those problems. Because now that you know what you have, it's been repaired. Hopefully the doctors will figure out something so he doesn't have to do it. We'll see. Who knows?
Brian says he agrees. Kirill's not 100% yet. Game conditioning, hands, skating will all come. He wants to know what free agent you'd like to see the Wild go after this offseason.
Well, of course, Brock Besser's at the top of the list. You can expect 50 points every year from Besser. He had the 1 year he had 40 goals, but you can expect 50, 55 points from every year. And the thing with Besser is he's got a hell of a shot, and he would be a big upgrade on our power play. So I would expect he'd be scoring more points simply because of his power play. He's a phenomenal shot. His problem is I just read that he wants $8.5 million for 8 years, and for a 50-point man, that's a stretch. Like I said before, he'd have to take Minnesota discount because I don't think I'd pay $8.5 million for a 50-point man. And of course, he could obviously score more, but you have to go on what you can depend on, what you expect him to do for the year, and that's 50 points. His whole league, his whole time in the league, he's had 140-goal season. Career year, we'll see. But I wouldn't give him $8.5 million. He's 27 now?
Yeah.
8 years, he would be 35. I'd be okay with 8 years because I think 35 is the old 30. So because everybody works out 12 months out of the year and they have their nutritionists and specialists, and they're so much in much better shape now than they ever were back in the 70s, 80s. Age isn't the deal. It's just 8.5 is a lot of money.
Yeah. Mr. Blackjack has an intriguing one.
Huh?
What about Sam Bennett?
He's not leaving Florida. I don't think he's leaving Florida. He'd be a nice get though. He's he's a lunch pail kind of guy too. He comes to work every day. That's one thing I like about him. Let me think. Who else is out there? You know what? I'm gonna have. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm pulling up the free agents list.
Yeah, good one.
Obviously, the big name at the top is Mitch Marner.
Yeah, and he wants $14 million, last I heard. And here's the deal with Mitch Marner. What does he do in the playoffs? What does he do every year in the playoffs? Does anybody know? Not much. When it becomes, the playoffs is a different animal. When you don't have the space and the time, he's not that good. And he's a great player. But playoff time, he kind of disappears.
Ryan Donato scored 31 goals this year.
Yeah. He had a good year. I think Chicago resigns him actually.
It's entirely possible. I don't know when this list was put together, but it's impending free agents.
Yeah.
Matt Duchene is near the top of the list. I'm going to say no on Matt Duchene, and here's why. If the Wild went that route and tried to pick up Matt Duchene after 2 really, really good seasons in Dallas, he would be awful here.
Oh, I agree completely.
That's just how it works. Like we would get screwed. We would get the other end of the Magic. He would have like 10 goals here, and we'd be like, what happened? He was good in Dallas. It's like, well, he was good there. He can't be good in Minnesota.
Yeah, two completely different styles. I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see the kids. Really high on year off. I think he's going to be a 50, 60-point man walking in his first year. I really do. I've gotten to watch a lot more tape on him. He just has it. He's a top 6 forward, and he's going to step into a good situation. And as you know, he's good friends with Kaprizov. And that's why we want to get him in here, because that's another reason for Kaprizov to stay. Because really, we got to start looking at that. And what was the deal earlier about we had $21, $22 million in cap space? We don't. Realistically, we have like 10 after we get done signing Kaprizov and everybody else we need to get signed. How many players do we have to sign?
God, why is Puckpedia laid out this way? Isn't there like a Spot Track does this so much better. Overview. I think that's what I want. We now my computer's just frozen.
That's okay.
We'll come back. We'll circle back to it.
Yeah.
Because we got a couple of questions.
Sure.
KJ was wondering about Nikolai Ehlers. That's an intriguing one.
I think Winnipeg keeps him. Realistically, I think Ehlers, he's the king up there. And Winnipeg's one hell of a team, top to bottom. They got no weaknesses, got awesome goalie. You really got to look at Winnipeg as a real cup favorite. You really do. A couple of weeks ago, I told you I like St. Louis and LA. Well, I've been doing a little research and looking at everything. And even though they're the President Cup deal, did Washington or Winnipeg get it?
Winnipeg got it.
Now, there's a stigma with winning the President's Cup. And there really is.
It's a legitimate curse.
Yes, it is. And it's been going on for years. I mean, if it was once or twice, but now it's every year. That's the only reason I am not picking Winnipeg, because, the hockey gods don't like the trophy cup winners. I don't know. Oh, that's a good one. Any more questions?
Yes. And I did find
Let's
it. So I found exactly what I was looking for the cap stuff. So the Minnesota Wilds, so they project the cap going up to 95.5 for 2025-2026. Again, that's a projection. We won't know that figure until after the season is done. Shout out to Trav for turning me onto that path about how the cap is done, because now I will never forget it. And anytime I'm asked about it, I throw out that disclaimer. The Wild's projected cap hit right now is $73,800,000 right now, with 16 players signed. So you have $21,600,000 in cap space, with 7 spots to fill, with a Rossi extension, with a few other things to kick in as well.
Well, let's look at it this way. We got Urov coming in, entry level. We got Ogren coming in, entry level. We got Wolstad coming in. He's not entry level, but close. We got Jurasek coming in, entry level. We got Z Boyne coming in, entry level. I don't think we have any problems there. Of course, that's if they play the kids. But it all works. I mean, it's common sense. Instead of going after a high-priced free agents that you always have to overpay for, I'm all for the kids. I would take Besser, but not at $8.5 million. And this is something I want to talk about: the players' contract and how much they're expanding it. It's not a good thing, and I'll tell you why. Because the only person that pays for it is us fans. Right now, a family of 4 goes to a hockey game, it costs them almost $500. So that knocks out the blue-collar family of going to a lot of games. If they get to go to one game now, it's a big deal. The price of tickets have just gotten outrageous. And you can see what happened to the rest of the leagues, what happened when they hit their top. Baseball's dropped 60%, basketball's dropped 80%, NFL's dropped 33%. The prices are just, are astronomical. And with our economy that is today, I just hope that they do not raise the cap much more than the first projection, because we're going to be paying for it. And you know what? I would rather they keep at 100 million and just keep it there for a long time. That gives the teams enough to work with, and it doesn't raise the price of the ticket, or at least we would hope not. Because, $100 a ticket plus parking plus food, and $15 a beer. Come on. I used to go 25, 30 games every year. I did all of my time growing up. I used to sell Secord Sucks buttons back in the 80s to pay for my games. Well, can't do that now. Or at least I haven't tried anyway. Maybe I should. Because I certainly can't afford to go to games like that anymore. It's unfortunate, but, I feel for the families that would love to go but can't afford to go. That's the biggest deal. They got to think about the future. And, everything they're saying is just talk. There's nothing written in contract. It's all talk. And I hope GMs realize, what they're facing. Because a lot of teams do not sell out. And, Minnesota, we're lucky. Because if this market was anywhere else, they wouldn't be selling out. At least I don't think so. Price of tickets have got to get under control. They really do. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, I want to say they're in negotiations right now, and it looks like the NHL is going to do like how the women do it, 3-2-1. 3 points for a win, and 2 points for overtime, or 1 point for a loss if you're in overtime. And I think that makes sense. What do you think, Seth?
We just have to stop rewarding teams for losing games in overtime. Calgary Flames lost 14 games in overtime, and the only reason that they were even remotely in contention is because of the loser point. The loser point is my least favorite thing that the NHL does, including the shootout. The loser point is awful. It just needs to go. 2 points if you win a game in regulation, 1 point if you win a game in overtime. Guess what? If you lose, you get nothing.
Well, common sense would say that's what they should do, but that's not what they do, as we both know. So I think the women's, how they do it, is a good alternative. 3 points for a win. That seems, reasonable. What do the fans think?
Trav sums it up pretty succinctly. Don't reward losers. It punishes winners.
Well said, Trav. Well said.
Ron says you should sell Garen Sucks buttons at games.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I would last long there before I get Bob. Oh, back when I used to sell Secord Sucks buttons, Al Secord was a forward for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he used to just kill us. And we had Dino Cicerelli and Neil Brodin. We had a hell of a team back then. And Cicerelli, who, in my estimation, is the best North Star ever. And I know a lot of you are going to say, no way, but that's just my opinion. When the North Stars would go to Chicago, they would sell Cicerelli Sucks buttons. So it was a real, real competitive. The good old ones. Bill Guerin, Billy Sucks. Now, maybe not that, but something. I should be able to come up with something like that. I don't know, Billy. I'll have to think. That's a good one, though. I like it. I got to think about that one for a while to come up with something. That's a good one, though. Next.
There was one earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Asking, here from Wild Crush 44, who did a better job coaching this year, Dino or John Hines?
Dino. All day long. They lose their star player. They're still fighting for a playoff spot, aren't they?
I think they needed Montreal to lose today, and Montreal is currently beating Carolina. By the way, just as kind of a side, Nashville is beating Dallas 5-1 right now.
Really?
The Dallas Stars have lost 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
Going to be 7. Heading into the postseason. You want to talk about a pucker factor for Dallas fans? 7 losses in a row, and you are going to go toe-to-toe with the Colorado Avalanche. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck is right. I don't know what happened to Dallas, but there's certainly some dissension in the clubhouse. I don't watch Dallas hardly at all because I hate them, can't stand them. But I got to give hats off to the management and the coaching because they do things the right way. But losing that many games in a row, they haven't done that all year.
Well,
So
and it was funny because
going on.
It was a couple of weeks ago. Peter DeBoer had some very pointed words for the team. He said something to the effect of, the fourth line were the only guys out there that were doing anything. Like they were the only players that were giving us anything. And that was weeks ago. That was when they lost those 2 back-to-back games to Winnipeg and Colorado. They went on a lengthy winning streak after that. And now it's just, and listen to the scores of these games. 5-3. They lost to the Wild 3-2, 6-5, 4-0, 5-3 to Utah, famously not in the playoffs. 6-4 to the Detroit Red Wings, famously not in the playoffs. And now 5-1 to one of the worst teams in the league.
Wow. Dissension in the clubhouse.
They're not resting people, as was pointed out. Who pointed it out here? Mr. Blackjack said they're not sitting anybody.
Well, they got a lot of older players too, and time might be catching up to them. I don't know. I don't watch Dallas. I can't really give you a good comment on it because I don't like speculation. If I could watch them, I would tell you certainly. But
Matt Dumba's a -1, I can tell you that.
Well, that should say it all right there. Matt Dumba on your defense, that pretty much sums it up.
And Dallas scored 16 seconds into the game to take a 1-0 lead, and it's been 5 straight goals for the Predators, including a power play goal. Jake Ottinger has given up 5 goals on 22 shots. Yikes.
Wow. Yeah, he's in a slump, that's for sure.
Very not good. Historically not good. Vibes are not great.
Wow.
Ooh, Sam Steele's a -3. Yikes.
Oh, gee. Well, he's played pretty good for Dallas, though.
Yeah, he's had a good year for them. They turned him into a solid 4th-line center, and they rewarded him with an extension.
Yep.
He barely played here. I'm
what
noticing
else we got?
Game. There was another. Well, so your answer was Dino as far as which coach has had the better coaching job this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like us losing Kaprizov and no time to replace him.
Yeah.
And that's what he's had to deal with. And that team was in such chaos for years. They didn't have good management. They didn't have anything good going on. And then with Dino, he gave him structure. And you know how Dino is about structure. I mean, he doesn't change it. It's my way or the highway. And that's what I didn't like about him. He would never change anything to counteract what the other team was doing. My biggest disappointment in Dino is when Gus Bus stole the first game in Dallas, and they played Flower the next game. Who in their right mind does that? Not me.
I still don't get it.
Yeah, me neither. Well, it cost us the series. We could have gone up 2-0 down in Dallas. I would have changed the whole deal. But that's why he's gone. But I'm happy for him. Dino's a good coach in certain ways. You know, all coaches have their goods and their bads. I just hope, as I've said before, the Wild really need to pursue David Carl. They really do. Got all his kids coming in. Who better than somebody who's been world champion with the kids? He knows how to get the most of them, and he's good at coaching up. And I'm sure at some time Zeev Boyum is going to talk about it. Anything else?
Question from Trav. If you're down 3-0, do you give Fleury game 4?
Jesus, that's a good question. They won't. They're down 3-0. They're not going to. But that would be a fitting tribute to end his career. But
here's my thought on it. If Gustafsson is the reason that they have lost, I would say if they go down 0-2 in Vegas, if they lose the games like 3-2 or something like that, that's not a big deal. But if Gustafsson has like the yips and is giving up soft goals through the first 2 games that you lose, I start Fleury at home. Absolutely.
Would you? You know what I would do? I'd call up Olsen. Yeah, that'd be a shot in the arm. That's what I would do.
That certainly would be. With the season that he has had, I am not throwing him in a playoff game.
Well, he only played in 24 games. He was really hurt. He got hurt 3 times, and all 3 were pretty serious injuries, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and the last report I got him is Wallstedt was old Wallstedt now. So he's finally over the injury stuff, and he's getting back to be the goal we all love and can't wait to see next year.
I just hope we don't get like if we fall behind in this series, we're going to make some big changes, and then it's Brazo out, Hinostroza in. And that's the only change.
Well, that'll make a big difference.
Okay, that's going to really do it.
Well, for all the new people on here who don't know my thoughts on Billy's construction of the team, it's 90s. It's not today's game. Today's game is all built on speed and skill. And he's the opposite for the most part. Bringing in Gustav Nyquist for a 2nd-round pick has to be the worst trade ever in Wild history, in my opinion. When there's absolutely nobody calling for him to upgrade because there's no upgrade. He's at the end of his career. He's done. He's got no leg left. He's a smart player. And, he finally got a goal or a couple now. But still, 2nd-round pick. We could have got him for a 5th. Yeah. Next.
Martin Hansel, you have been vindicated.
Yes, that's a good one. You got to remember, Hansel had some big goals for us. He was slow as hell too, but it kind of fit in because he was the trailer, and he had a good shot. And he was accurate. And he scored some big goals for us, and it just kind of worked out that way. But Hansel had no legs. Jesus. He ruined that trade. Ruined the team, actually. Next.
Let's finish with this one because we have hit the hour mark. Mr. Blackjack says, I saw something saying offer sheets are going to be up this year since free agency isn't that good.
Well, you saw it last year with Edmonton. They lost 2 of their promising rookies to St. Louis, and it turned out to be a good deal for St. Louis. Although they end up giving them a 3rd-round pick for the deal. Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing more of it. I do. What are you going to do? You match it or let them go?
Yeah.
I do think we're going to see more of it, though, this year. More than we ever have, actually. So, because that's how the game's evolving. Is that it?
I think so.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you got any comments that you think about later, leave them because I'll answer you. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to me and Seth about our thoughts on hockey. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next Monday.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Sunday is Easter, so we are going to move the show from its normal noon time slot because there's going to be a lot of Easter stuff going on, myself included. So we'll have the show for you next Monday at 8 p.m.
There you go. See you, everybody. Thanks. Ah.